Kia ora guys and welcome to another flip video session. Today we are looking at complex sentences. Let's get into it. Question for you. Why do you think we use sentences in our writing? Have a think on it. Sentences. A sentence is just a group of words that makes complete sense. A sentence always has at least one subject and a verb. It can have one or more clauses, as you're about to find out. A complex sentence. A complex sentence has a main clause and a subordinate clause. The subordinate clause is dependent on the main clause to make sense. In other words, the subordinate clause isn't a complete idea and needs the main clause for it to actually make sense. The subordinate clause can be at the beginning, middle, or end of a complex sentence, and we will see some examples of this very shortly, guys. So, main clause and subordinate clause. A clause is a group of words which form all or part of a sentence. A clause, regardless of being a main clause or subordinate clause, has a subject and a verb. A main clause is a complete idea that makes sense by itself. So a main clause is the same as a simple sentence. It makes complete sense alone. A subordinate clause doesn't make complete sense on its own. It needs to be attached to a main clause for it to make sense. Alright, have a read of this screen, guys. It's a cheat code. Example time. A bird flew into a library because he was looking for bookworms. The main clause in that example is a bird flew into a library. That clause is the same as a simple sentence. It has a subject and a verb and it makes sense by itself. So hypothetically we could put a full stop there and be done with it. However, we're adding to that sentence. We're adding a subordinate clause to it, which is because he was looking for bookworms. Now, because he was looking for bookworms, if we read that by itself, it does not make sense. It's not a complete thought. But if we attach it to a bird flew into a library, it makes sense. A bird flew into a library because he was looking for bookworms. Alright, subordinate clauses can often be identified because they start with certain words. So these words often start subordinate clauses. After, although, as if, because, even if, even though, if, in order to, since, though, unless, until, whatever, when, whenever, whether, and while. Those are the words that 9 times out of 10 start a subordinate clause. So you will be using those words in your writing to start your subordinate clauses. Now, let's check out some examples. Bobby was delighted he got a part in the school play, even though the part was a small one. The bold orange words are the main clause. The slightly smaller black words are the subordinate clause. Look at the first word for each subordinate clause on this page. Because my porridge had gone cold, I heated it in the microwave. After lots of practice, Josh still struggled to tie his shoelaces. Let's go back to the theatre, where we watched the ballet. After the storm hit the town, trees lay broken in the streets. So here we can see some of these sentences have the subordinate clause at the start and some of them have them at the end. And look for the first word of the subordinate clause. You can see they are our subordinate clause starters. Alright guys, be prepared to share where you have used complex sentences. You need to be able to identify the main clause and the subordinate clause. Cheers guys.